Hey guys, what's up? It's Alex. Today we're gonna work on the Corvette, and after I got it off the dyno, where it made 699 real horsepower, I know it's not 700. Like I made 795 on the white car, and then I called it 800, and you guys are like, no, it didn't make 800, and I'm like, okay. So the 699 real horsepower ZR-1 that you see right here, the O2 sensors failed on it. So I thought to myself, all right, let's get these swapped out. And I think it's important to, these are Walker brand. I wish I would have gotten like an actual GM situation, but Rock Auto, this is all they had. Everything else was like, I don't know, ridiculously priced and also not that available. It's crazy that the supply chain stuff is still affecting people, but enough of that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jack up the Corvette and show you how involved it is to get the O2s replaced. Now, I started experiencing, someone is hauling ass. Okay. I started experiencing part throttle issues. So I noticed that's a 10R80 car. You could just tell. Yep, idiot 10R80 owner. So on the transition from vacuum to boost, the car would stutter. And I thought, well, it must be the MAF curve because a lot of people complained that the Kong cold air intake didn't have a great drivability characteristics. So I said, okay, well, let me try to dial that in. So I thought it was that. But when I went on dyno, did a couple of watt pulls, dialed in fueling, brought it back home, both front O2 sensors failed. I pulled the codes and it had O2 sensor codes. So I said, okay, either I melted O2s or they just went out because they're the stock ones. So what I'm gonna do is get underneath, show you how it's not that comfortable to get underneath this particular car and show you the O2 placement. Then I'm gonna drive it and make sure that I wasn't compensating for a bad O2 in the wrong section of the tune. I'm sure I was. I'm expecting to have a very rich condition in transition. I'll data log that. I'll pull a couple of plugs to make sure that they look okay and show you that process. So we're gonna go ahead and get this car jacked up and start replacing the O2s. But the other one is in a similar spot, way up top somewhere above by the collector. So theoretically, it should be by the end of the collector, somewhere up here. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so time to get to work and get these two out. You won't see that on video. I'll just replace them and see how the car starts to react. Nicely, the threads. The old ones are pretty smoked. So. Yeah, and it is not easy to get to. Very, very difficult, very cramped. I had a very hard time getting them out. So let me just get on that and then I'll get to tuning it. That's gonna be the majority of the video anyway. Okay, let's get this guy running and let's see if the fuel trims start to move, because that's how we'll know that everything is working as it should. Down because the spark plug was disconnected. Forgot to connect it. do this again. So, just to give you an update, been tuning on it for a little while, and it's not a sexy process, understand. Like, tuning isn't something that I would say is sexy. I think tuning is something that is tedious, time-consuming, frustrating sometimes, especially when you're trying to learn the tables. I just recently now reverted a lot of things back to where they were, and then concentrated on fuel pressure, which is actually something you can command on these cars. And I think I'm going down the right path. So for those of you that think that you want to become a tuner, I'm not saying to not try it or pursue it. That stumble, that little stumble, I don't know what it is. I'm not saying not to pursue it, but I'm saying it's not as sexy as you think it is. What I've been doing lately is making one video out of like a massive amount of time messing with the cars. So over the last couple of days, I've been dialing in fueling. I've been just doing my best to get the car dialed in watt fueling wise. So far things are going pretty good, but with everything comes a big learning curve. For example, on Mustangs, I don't mind touching the MAV curve a decent amount. On this car, you might chase your tail if you do that a lot, especially if you have fuel pressure issues and you have to know where to bring in fuel pressure, because if you don't have enough fuel pressure, you'll get a stumble. If you have too much fuel pressure, it'll look rich on the MAV's short-term fuel trim area, and a lot of blending in between might be skewed by the fuel pressure and the MAV. So typically what I'm going to do is set fuel pressure where I want it. I want fuel pressure at a certain spot. I talked to Greg, I talked to many people, and he thinks that's the best route I should take. Also, this thing has a crazy decel pop that I'm gonna get rid of because I don't want to be accused of running a burble decel tune. So what I'm gonna do now is go out there, do some wide open throttle tuning, second gear, see if fuel pressure is good, dial in the MAF, then do a third gear hit, make sure everything looks good. So let's go out there and do some hits on second, dial in fueling and fuel pressure. And again, this isn't a sexy process. I'm sorry if you are expecting some cool, badass Darude sandstorm craziness going on. That's just not the case when it comes to tuning. It's a lot of driving the car, seeing what it feels like, and just dialing in everything that how you want the car to act. So let me go out there and do what I need to do, and hopefully I can get you a video of me doing a 60 to 130 if fueling looks good. You guys appreciate the effort that it takes to make a video like that. I understand that I didn't show you the nitty-gritty stuff that I think I want to show you guys, but the fact that the car with an export, a 102 throttle body, and a Kong cold air intake on pump gas, because again, I'm just dialing all this stuff on pump gas, and that's what it made on the dyno. Before I go ahead and add timing and put Sunoco 260 GT in it, I wanted to get everything vetted, and I didn't think it was gonna go that fast. Like 6.8 on the previous video that you saw was the thing running out of injector. That's why I did that weird pulsing thing at the end, and it went 683 at 50-degree weather. Yesterday it was in the 70s at night, and I was able to go 6.1 and second gear hazed the most of the pull. If you look at the pull, look closely, it pulled like 1.2 G for a second. So it's definitely hauling ass. So I really want to thank people like Rami Zaidan, Alec Bledsoe, who's going to help me out with some R&Ding on some parts that I want to mess with. He's going to supply some of the stuff that he has played with to see if there's a better tuning opportunity there. I want to thank Greg again for providing the blower and the cold air intake, and Rami for the throttle body and the blower itself that was brought to Greg to get ported. Again, this is not the end for this car. There's going to be more Sunoco 260 GT testing. My hope is to get into the 570 range. And guys, that is flying, okay? That is really quick. And I think it's going to stay there for a little bit of time until I get a lower balancer, like a 14% or a 14, I forget what it's called, like a 4-pound lower. I don't know how they call it, but it's like a 14% overdrive, which maxes out the 2300. And then we'll see if the clutch holds up. It's gonna need a trans rebuild eventually because second gear is grinding. But for now, this thing is an extremely, extremely quick car, 60 to 130. So hopefully you guys stay tuned for the upcoming 260 GT video, and then maybe some dyno video on 260 GT to see how much of a difference a little more timing makes. Thanks for listening, guys. Talk to you later.